The title for this set of Dharma talks is Through Doubt, Through Contentment. If there's something I say that you don't understand, feel free to raise your hand or just speak up and someone can interpret, or I will try to explain in simpler language. Okay? Good.
Contentment.
Contentment, yeah.
Zufriedenheit.
Okay. So again, the title is Through Doubt, Through Contentment. Doubt is a fairly technical term in Zen Buddhism. In Buddhism, in general, as in many religions, doubt in the sense of wavering mind, feeling dubious, not certain about something. It could be this, it could be that. This kind of doubt is a hindrance in Buddhism as well. But what Zen Buddhism speaks of as great doubt, and it speaks of great doubt for a good reason, is not simply the wavering mind, but the fundamental motor or engine, you might say, of genuine Zen practice. Once again, it's not mere wavering or indecision. It's something that naturally comes out of the depth of our being when we look seriously at the world and at ourselves. So it is our doubt, the doubt that we are. To give a simple example, a classic quote from a Zen master of the Ming Dynasty, so we're speaking about 350 years ago in China. His name was Boshan, so I'll be quoting Boshan. In Zen practice, the essential point is to rouse doubt. What is this doubt? For example, when you were born, where did you come from? You cannot help but remain in doubt about this. When you die, where will you go? Again, you cannot help but remain in doubt. Since you cannot pierce or penetrate this barrier of life and death, suddenly doubt will coalesce or solidify right before your eyes. Try to put it down, you cannot. Try to push it away, you cannot. Eventually, you will break through this doubt block and realize what a worthless notion life and death is. Ha! As the old worthies said, great doubt, great awakening. Small doubt, small awakening. No doubt, no awakening. End quote. Clear? Should it be translated into German? Not Japanese. Do you want me to read it again or put it in German? Okay.
Can make the noise again, a loud noise.
That's not necessary.
Was hast du nicht verstanden wieder?
Ja, den letzten Teil habe ich nicht genau.
Maybe repeat the last part again, please.
Okay. Well, I'll read the whole thing through again slowly in English. If there's something you don't understand, feel free to speak up, okay? Again, this is quoting the Ming Dynasty Chinese Zen master who died about 350 years ago. Actually, he was what in Japanese is called a Soto Zen master, not a Rinzai Zen master. Usually we think, oh, Rinzai, doubt, they talk about this. Soto, they don't. This is nonsense. This was a Soto Zen teacher. Boshan, again to quote, "In Zen practice, the essential point is to rouse," bring up doubt. What is this doubt? When you were born, for example, where did you come from? You cannot help but remain in doubt about this because you don't really know. When you die, where will you go? Again, you cannot help but remain in doubt. Since you cannot pierce or penetrate this barrier of life and death, suddenly the doubt will coalesce or solidify right before your eyes. Try to put it down, you cannot. Try to push it away, you cannot. Eventually, you will break through this doubt block and realize what a worthless notion life and death is. Ha! As the old worthies said, great doubt, great awakening. Small doubt, small awakening. No doubt, no awakening. End quote. I trust you can see from your own experience that the example of before you were born or when you die, after you die, it's not talking about a previous life or a future life. It's really talking about the fact that right here and now, you cannot help but remain in doubt because you don't really know immediately and directly. Right here, great doubt naturally manifests. It's not about just before birth and after death. When it's taken seriously, you realize it's right here. You don't know. So far, so good? Okay. This is the basic standpoint of genuine Zen practice. The problem is, what if you don't have that doubt? Many people who come sincerely to do Zen practice don't have this great doubt, and so they often spend years, even lifetime, struggling, trying to practice, trying to do things with their mind, and it can be very difficult and very frustrating. Of course, it doesn't make sense to try and imitate somebody else's doubt or read about somebody's doubt and try to pretend you have that. This is nonsense. It must come naturally from the depths of your own being. If we are honest, if we are sincere, we have trust, we have faith. We wouldn't be here practicing if we didn't. But we also have doubt, don't we? Trying to deny that, or as we say, put it under the rug, under the carpet, doesn't work. So you must see into the trust, the faith that you have, that brings you here, that allows you to practice. But you also must open up to the doubt that remains. It is just as important, as you know, of course, in Zen they speak of great trust or faith, great determination to see it through all the way, and great doubt. They say it's like the three legs of a tripod. If one of those legs is gone, it just falls over. Great trust or great faith, yes. Great determination to see it all the way through, and great doubt. Like the three legs of this tripod. But again, what if you don't have this great doubt? You can't practice Zen? No, not at all. The title is Through Doubt, Through Contentment. In early Buddhism, it was very clear that the way of practice was through a feeling of what in Pali or Sanskrit is called piti or sukha, which is a kind of joy, happiness that comes from entering, accessing a kind of concentration, a kind of samadhi or concentrated oneness. So that at least for that few moments or hours or days, there's a feeling of well-being, of happiness, of joy, of contentment that comes. Precisely because for that time we're not clinging, grabbing on to something through seeing, smelling, tasting, or more often through our thought or feelings. We're not doing that, and we're not running away or trying to avoid something we dislike. You follow? Normally, what we think of as our happiness and our sadness is caused by chasing after something we desire or trying to get away from something we dislike. But what happens when you practice meditation properly? It's very clear in the early Buddhist sutras. This is not Zen, this is just basic Buddhism. If you practice properly, soon you will be able to arouse, awaken a feeling of joy, of contentment, of happiness. Again, not the normal happiness of sensuous desire, having a good meal, getting something that you want, which is just the flip side of sadness, of course, because when it breaks, what happens? Oh, it's not really happiness at all. This is, again, precisely the joy that comes from the depths of our being when we are not clinging on to anything or trying to escape from anything. You see, it's in a sense, a qualitatively different experience. It's a much deeper and more subtle contentment. It's precisely because, in a sense, the mind is not doing anything. It's not activated, chasing after or running away from anything. It's important to see the difference. It's what's called a non-sensuous, not wrapped up with the senses, including thinking and feeling. It's a joy, a happiness, a contentment that rises from the depths of our being. This can also be the way through. It is no better or worse than doubt. It seems like the opposite approach, doesn't it? Doubt, contentment. On the surface, in a way, these are the opposite approaches. But if you take them all the way, you end up at the same place. The question is, which way is right for you? If you have a genuine doubt, there's something you feel the genuine need to know. I cannot live the rest of my life not knowing who this is, what this is. Well then, you can use that doubt in a sense to go to the bottom. If you don't have that doubt, fine. Don't try to fake it. Or he had that doubt, so I should have it. No. You can also proceed, go all the way through by taking that sense of peace, of contentment, of joy, of happiness, but not just sticking with it, staying with it, but continuing to refine it until it gives up itself. It's not just a state of a good feeling. That's just the surface. When we penetrate to the bottom of it, it opens up. And at that point, it's not really different than penetrating through great doubt. Again, the question is, which way do you need to go? This is what you have to find out through your practice. Look at the Gautama Buddha himself. It's partly legendary, but it's pretty clear. He had a great doubt. That technical term was not used in early Buddhism, but he clearly had a great doubt. He left everything. His father had shielded him, protected him from every negativity, because he was told by a soothsayer that your son will either become a great king, a kind of a kingdom, he was the prince, or he will leave the world and become a great enlightened one. Well, the father wanted him to become a great king, to follow in his footsteps naturally. So he tried to protect his son from every negativity. When people became old or sick, they kind of just disappeared from view, and young people were brought in. It said he had the son, Siddhartha, who was to become Gautama Buddha. He had 3 mansions that he could go to, one for each season, the rainy season and so on. He had women to entertain him musically and otherwise. His every need, every desire could be fulfilled. Eventually he married, had a beautiful son. He was strong, he was healthy, he had everything. But as most of you know, in the legend, eventually he encounters sickness, aging, death, and what is called life itself, because life in this view just ends up becoming aging, sickness, and death again. It's endless. It's not a solution to the problem. Death and birth and death, as it says in Chinese, are not the solution, it's the problem. It's the endless dis-ease, the first noble truth, dukkha, of the self, stuck to itself. So as you know, he left all of that. His father begged him to stay, but late one night, he looked at his son and his little child, Raoul, and some versions say he kissed them and then he left. And he spent years practicing. Sometimes eating only enough food in the palm of his hand for one day, or not eating at all, not lying down to sleep, not breathing even, trying to stop his breath. And there's a point where he said, I have gone as far as anyone has ever gone in these practices. And what happened was he almost killed himself. He almost died. He realized, I'm not getting enlightened. I'm not getting released. I'm killing myself. I have no energy. His belly button or his navel, it said, touched his backbone. This is clearly his great doubt expressing itself through his whole body and mind. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. He realized he was killing himself. He was going to die. He wasn't going to get awakened. What happens then? What is the crucial event that leads to Gautama Buddha's awakening? Do you know? What?
Contentment.
From what? From where?
He was sitting under that tree, and then he remembered the state of mind he already had, which was pretty natural and joyful.
Exactly, yeah. It's in the Tibetan versions, it's in the Chinese versions, it's in the Pali, it's in the Sanskrit. Some of them in the Sanskrit or in the Tibetan version, he's already an adult when he has this experience. But in most of the other ones, he's still a child. It doesn't matter. It sounds very true to be in all those different versions. But what it says is, at the point almost of dying, he's very, very exhausted. He tried not eating and not sleeping. He got big headaches. Yes, that's what happens. Yeah. But then, as you say, he just spontaneously remembered a childhood experience. He was sitting under the rose apple tree. And most of the versions speak of some kind of a plowing ceremony. So it would be in the autumn, and they were plowing. And he was a child. He was just seated, covered from the sun, protected, comfortable. And he didn't have to do anything. He was just watching. The father was leading this ceremony. And he just spontaneously entered a kind of samadhi, or concentrated oneness. And he says, again in the versions, not a sensuous experience, but somehow this joy, this contentment, this peace from the depths of his being just welled up. Just spontaneously. What's meditation? He had no idea back then. He was just a kid. But as you say, remembering that experience was the key. And in some of the versions in the Pali, he says to himself, should I be afraid of that experience? No, I should not be afraid of that experience. It is showing me something I need to learn now. So, as you know then, very famous, he then decides to bathe in the river, to wash himself, refresh himself, and he even takes some food. He had been fasting, some kind of maybe rice milk from a woman, Sujata, a maiden. The other ascetics that are practicing with him, the 5 other ascetics, they see him, he chickened out. He gave up. Look at him, he's bathing, he's drinking milk. So they left him. They thought he had gone weak. But it wasn't that at all. He realized that he was willfully pushing himself too much. It wasn't working. Of course, now the problem is the middle way. This is complete nonsense. Nobody understands this. I've never seen an intelligent explanation of what the middle way is. It doesn't mean not too much of that and not too... What it means is going beyond this and that. Okay? It doesn't mean, I can't do this too much, I have to do it just a little bit. No, the middle way, it's not the middle way, it's the core way, which leaves both sides gone, free from both. Because what he does then is he says, I'm now going to sit here, if the bones and the sinew, the liquid in my bones, even if that dries up, I will not get up until I am awakened. This is not the middle way that it's explained now. It completely misses the point. What he means is, I cannot get up from this. I cannot stop this practice now. Of course, he had to get up. He had to go to the bathroom. He was human. But he wasn't leaving the practice. He could not leave the practice. But again, as you say, what brought that about, we can say, was great doubt. But it wasn't enough. That spontaneous experience was the kind of trigger that finally allowed him, then sitting through the night, it is said, he awakened.
If I have a question.
Yes.
I don't understand the connection between where he's sitting and in hunger and bony situation and craving for enlightenment and then the suddenly thought came, he remembered his childhood
Yes.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
So where is the connection? How it is? What is the connection that I am not?
It's interesting. Yeah, interesting
clear to
question.
me.
There seems to be no connection whatsoever,
No,
which
but-
is exactly what it would be. Look at your own experience. Stop conceiving it. Look at your own experience. He has gone all the way to the extreme, done everything he could, right? And he wasn't able to awaken. But at that point, what happens? At that point, often, it wasn't a conscious decision, you see? It's not a conscious decision. It can't be willfully created. But what happened, why? We have about 10 or 15 psychologists and psychotherapists here. We could ask them if you want. But it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant, you see? Look at your own experience. What happened? He just all of a sudden, wow, from nowhere. Have you ever remembered a childhood experience where you were like that?
I have not meditated like Buddha.
You missed the point. He had never meditated. Have you ever remembered a time when you were walking through the woods and you felt really at peace? Have you ever done something you really loved and just felt really at peace? Never? Look a little deeper. Look a little deeper and you'll see you have experiences just like that. Maybe not as dramatic. We all do. We all have experiences. Birgit talked about a couple of those experiences she had as a child in the Dharma talk in the UK a week or so ago. We all have those experiences. You have to see them. You have to look at your life. We're not talking about Gautama Buddha, we're talking about you. And it's real, okay? So again, what happened? Who knows? But it says that he just remembered this childhood experience. Yeah, that's right. From out of nowhere, if you like. Okay? No connection whatsoever. But it was the most valuable point in his practice. That's what, in a sense, spurred him to his awakening. You're from India, you should know this. It's no mystery. Look at your own experience. Okay? Look at your own experience. Is there always a connection? There's always a logical connection? Is there? Look at your experience. Look at your experience. Okay? Does anyone else have a question? Something that's not clear? Don't try to explain it. It's inexplicable. But it happened. And it happens to you too, if you would care to look. Doesn't it? Every day. Every day. We all have those experiences, don't we? When you lose yourself in something that you love and find yourself there. Have you ever been in love? Okay. Well, then stop pretending you don't know what I'm talking about. Your wife would be very upset. Hello? We're doing it every day. That's the point. Okay? But it's got to be thoroughgoing. That doubt is enough, but it must be directed properly, or else you'll end up like Gautama Buddha before he awakened. You don't have to kill yourself. That's why we have a retreat like this. Nutritious meals, a comfortable bed to sleep in, but also many hours where we can sit and give ourselves to the practice. We don't have to torture ourselves. But we do have to go all the way, so to speak, to give all of ourselves. The point is, we can do that through doubt, if it is there in us. If that doubt is there, great, take it all the way. Any koan is doing that. If you're not doubting, it's not a koan. But you don't need that. That contentment itself, if it is refined all the way to the bottom. Where does that contentment come from? Every day of our life, if we really look deeply, we have those moments. Minutes, maybe hours. Again, doing something you love. Doing something you're naturally good at. Do you play an instrument? Or you like to sing?
Sometimes.
Well, take a look. What happens when you do that? What happens when you do that? Does it make sense to say, you lose yourself and find yourself in that, don't you?
No, but that deep experience is not there. I mean, of course I feel a little bit happy in doing something, but it's not like that is fully transforming me.
That's why you have to refine it. That's right. That's where you start. Now, go to the bottom of it. Stop going over the waves. That's all. That's what Zazen is. Going to the bottom of that experience. What is the root of that experience? You follow? That joy you feel every day, that's good. That's what's called access concentration. You see, it can lead you in. But that itself is not enough. You're quite correct. It's quite a good point. It's not enough, you're right. But you don't need another one in a sense. All you need to do is go to the root source of that. How do you do that? Well, that's what Zazen, real Zazen is. No longer going along the waves of the mind, but penetrating right here, right now, to the very depths. It's nowhere else.
I can conceptualize myself.
Forget it. Forget it. This isn't here. We're not here to conceptualize.
Okay.
If you want to do that, go home.
Okay.
We're not here to conceptualize. What good does that do?
What I want to say, I fear myself if I am sincere to me, honest to me, if in my looking this, if I am not fooling myself, that
Yes.
I mean,
Good.
definitely, so
That's doubt, isn't it?
that's
Doubt
yeah.
used properly. That's right. Is it real? Am I fooling myself? Good.
Yeah.
Hold on to that. Don't let that go. You follow? The experience you have, look at it clearly and honestly. If you have a doubt, look at that clearly and honestly. Let it show you what is really there. We don't need to conceptualize it. You follow? Let it be what it really is. Do you have a doubt? Take that doubt all the way. Do you feel a real sense of peace and contentment? Okay. Take that all the way. Clear? We have a week to make it clear. A good beginning. A good beginning. You just cut out about 3 lifetimes of practice. Not just for yourself, but for the others as well. It's clear? Thank you for your question. Once again, doubt will do if you take it all the way. Contentment will do if you take it all the way and don't just stay on the surface. What is the root source of that? Where does it really come from? At the end, you will see they're not even 2 different things. They're not even 2 different things. But you needn't worry, conceive, conceptualize it. Just dive in and find out for yourself. Dive into your own experience. I'm just introducing Gautama Buddha or anyone else, Boshan, if it's helpful for you to clarify your own experience. You follow? That's all. That's all. Just to show that this contentment is clearly realized in the Zen tradition as well, I'll offer, it's not really necessary, but I'll offer a brief quote from the classic Zazen manual, the manual of Zen meditation. Dogen's manual is about 50-60% just taken word for word from this classic manual. Again, this is describing from the Zen point of view what this contentment is, okay? Quoting from the, in Japanese, Zazengi or Zazen manual. Quote, Zazen really is the Dharma gate of ease and joy. If you become ill from it, you are not doing it with proper care. Done properly, your whole body naturally becomes light and at ease, spirit fresh, mind clear. The flavor or the taste of Dharma, the truth, sustains, and you are calm, pure, and joyful. End quote. Once again, this is from the classic Zazen manual. Every Zen monk has that in his, they don't have pockets, they have sleeves that they put it in a little book. It's actually 2 volumes, and this is in one of those. This is the kind of handbook for Zen practice. And this is the classic instructions of how to do Zazen. It explains how to put your legs, how to breathe, the whole thing. But after it explains the physical part, it then says this. I will read it again, okay? If there's something unclear, again, we can have it interpreted. Quoting from the Zazen manual. Zazen really is the dharma gate of ease and joy. If you become ill from it, you are not doing it with proper care. Done properly, your whole body naturally becomes light and at ease, spirit fresh, mind clear. The flavor or the taste of Dharma sustains, and you are calm, pure, and joyful, end quote. Again, this is talking about an experience that is free of sensuous clinging. That joy, that happiness comes from out of the depths of our being, precisely from not grasping on to something or trying to escape from something.